Welcome to Blackxecutive Podcast, where we share inspiration and actionable advice for Black creatives going pro. I'm your host, Jazz. With each episode, we'll chat with Black creatives thriving in entrepreneurship, corporate careers, and the nonprofit sector, all while building a network of Black creatives, 6 head nods apart. Enjoy the show, where the dreamers become doers and the aspiring become inspired. Let's get started. Hello. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Jazz, and today we'll be talking to Michael Jackson. Not that one. Same industry, but different creative. Michael's a West Coast promotions coordinator for Def Jam, one of the most notable recording labels in music history. Welcome to the show, Michael. And before we get into it, I know I call you Michael, but what do you go by now?
Everybody calls me MJ. Everyone calls me Mike Jag. Everyone calls me Michael Jackson. Uh, I'm open to. I'm not like a stickler on that.
Cool. So MJ it is. Let me say that I am so excited to have you on the show. I've been following your career path for quite some time now, and I am floored by the amount of hustle you have, the amount of progress you've made, like in such a short period of time to get to where you are. You've gone from aspiring rapper to promotions coordinator for one of the top record labels in the industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what it is exactly that a promotions coordinator does?
Coordinating for the whole department. Some of our artists and projects that we're currently working on. Big Sean, who has an album coming out next week. Kanye West, who has an album coming out whenever he feels like it. Justin Justin Bieber, and so the main roles of our department is basically getting songs on the radio and handling lifestyle marketing, whether that be album listening parties or like contest giveaways on the radio. So we basically work within smaller markets in the communities to kind of bring awareness to what artists have going on for their projects. How I got here? Oh, very long story. So, as you know or not know, I'm originally from Marianna, Arkansas, born and raised. My dad was a DJ. He's a local club DJ from Chicago, who moved down to Arkansas, and he was a DJ majority of my life, and he also sold mixtapes. So if you ever saw the guy that was in your neighborhood selling bootleg CDs and DVDs, that was my dad from my neighborhood. And so I kind of just grew up around music. That was like everything that I knew just growing up was just music every day, all day. And my dad kind of egged me on to kind of take on after him, whether that was to be a DJ or whether that was to, also sell CDs and DVDs. And I kind of always had a knack for just the business side of things. I liked it how, with him, he wake up in the morning, he wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning, printing out all the CDs, he's downloading whatever's new. Then he goes out and he makes money. And so at 13 and 14 years old, I saw that and I got a chance to do it myself. And when you're 13 years old and you go out and you make $100 in a day, it kind of inspires you. So I was a kid that was doing that in school, and I was like, I always joke, I was the king of the playlist before Spotify ever came along. Like I was the guy, we was using LimeWire at that time. So
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, so we was using LimeWire at that time, and I was doing that, and a friend of mine's was an aspiring rapper, and he was like, "Yo, you got the equipment? Can I come over to record?" And I kind of set up a studio in my bedroom, and he used to come over and record. And I saw him do it, and I was like, "Yo, I think I can do that too." So at the time, I was like, "Yo, let me try rapping." So I started rapping, and was doing that throughout high school. And kind of like you said before we talked, like that was my aspirations. I wanted to be a rapper. I was a huge Nas fan. I still am a huge Jay-Z, huge Kanye fan, and so that was my aspirations. Went off to college, and when I went to college, I just started to like really, put two and two together, and it was like I don't really think I will make it as a rapper. And so, about 4 years of college, I was just trying to figure it out. Honestly, for 4 years, and I got a chance to meet Trey Day, who's a radio DJ out in Little Rock at Power 92. I met
Right.
him through my program, and he was a cool dude. And he was like, "Yo, if you want to intern at the station, you know, come do it." So 2014, I started to intern at Power 92, and I liked it. And then, so at the time, that was my aspirations. I wanted to be on the radio. and I wanted to be like Trey Day because he was like my mentor at the time.
Mhm.
So I started to do that, and that internship ended. I started to intern at we have an iHeart Media, and I started intern there. And that internship, I met a promo rep from Atlantic Records when I was an intern at iHeart, and she was the first person that I met like really in the music industry. And we had a conversation. I actually, funny thing, I actually never met her before. We just had a
Mm.
conversation. She was there. I wasn't there, but she was there, and the guys that was at the station told her about me. And so we got on the phone and we talked for like 2 hours. Matter of fact, no, it was longer than 2 hours. She drove from Little Rock to Dallas, and we talked the whole time. She drove from Little Rock to Dallas for like, so that's like
Wow.
3 or 4 hour trip.
Yeah.
And so we talked, and she kind of was like, "Yo, if you want to be in the music industry, you got to go to LA, New York." And so that was on my mind. And so 2016, when I graduated college, I literally woke up one morning and was like, "Yo, I'm gonna move to LA." And it was like I graduated. I said it on the day I graduated. So I
Mhm.
graduated. I proposed to my wife on that day. Graduated that night. I said, "Yo, I think I'm gonna move to LA." Like the day after, like I proposed, we had plans of being together, and she thought I was joking, and I was dead serious. And so I literally, she was like supportive, but she was like, I don't know. And that summer I just kept thinking about it. So I applied to grad school as a way of just getting to LA. And I knew
Mhm.
like at least I would have a place to stay, if anything,
Right.
you know. So yeah, I moved to LA in August of 2016. Came out here. I didn't really have a place to stay for that first week because I had to wait till campus open up. So I stayed out at this like hotel motel. It was nasty, disgusting. And I lived out of my car, and it was just a struggle. But I came to LA, came out here, enrolled in grad school. While I was in grad school, I landed an internship at Atlantic Records, and that was ironically. So the person that I met in Little Rock didn't help me with that. So that was like an
Mhm.
ironic thing that I was an intern in her department.
It
She
was
used to be,
fate, man.
yeah, it was definitely fate. It was a full circle moment. So I interned at Atlantic in their promo department. And at the time, I think Ed Sheeran was popping, Bruno Mars, Cardi B was it was just like right before Cardi B came out with Bodak Yellow.
Mm.
So before she took off. And so I was a part of all those projects. I interned there, made some great relationships. Internship ended, and I landed my first job in the mailroom for the Recording Academy, which is the organization that hosts the Grammys.
Mhm.
So I worked in their mailroom and delivering mail, and I met a guy who knew a guy at Def Jam, and
Networking.
yeah, I delivered his mail, and we had a conversation one time. He said, "Yo, it's this opportunity at Def Jam. Would you be interested?" He put a word in for me. I reached out to my people at Atlantic. They put a word in for me, and in August, and again, August 6, 2018, I landed my job at Def Jam, and I've been here for 2 years.
Wow, what a story. Like there were so many interesting moments in there. Oh, so I'm gonna pivot back to a couple of those.
Mhm.
One of the first things that stuck out to me was like you realized that rapping may not be for you. What was it that made you realize that? Because I feel like so many people either don't have that epiphany and then they're like 60, like trying to be a 60-year-old rapper. Like you realized early on, it was like, look, it's not gonna work, but I still want to be in this industry and I'm gonna figure this out.
My thing was so points in there I skipped, but I went to a summer camp and when I was in high school in LA. It was in 2012.
Hmm.
And when I came out, it was the first time I had got introduced to Kendrick Lamar.
Oh my, you met Kendrick?
No, 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 no. I didn't meet Kendrick. Let me rephrase
Oh,
that.
okay. I was
I
gonna
knew who
say now.
I knew who Kendrick. No, no, no. I knew who Kendrick was as a
Okay.
rapper because it didn't
Okay.
really translate to like Arkansas. Like I heard his name, I heard about his music, but like
Hmm.
the impact of who Kendrick was.
Right. Right.
So I come out to LA. Kendrick is the most talked about artist. This is right before his debut album is getting ready to come out. He's the most talked about artist. You know what? I just
Hmm.
lied to you. I did meet Kendrick. But I met him when I was working at Def Jam, not at
Okay.
that moment. I get to that later. But Kendrick is like the biggest artist, getting ready to be the biggest artist. And I heard him rap. I said, "Oh my God, this guy's like God level," right?
Hmm.
And it was Kendrick, and then I was a big J. Cole fan. And so I was like, yo, I don't think I'm gonna ever be that good. And so I really was like listening to my music, and because I was trying to copy what they did, and I was just like, yo, I don't think I'm gonna ever be as good as Kendrick or J. Cole. And so I was like, I don't know about this rap thing. And then to be honest with you, to be 100% honest with you, and I tell my wife this all the time, like I didn't really enjoy actually rapping, right?
Mm,
And I had to figure that out. I didn't actually enjoy rapping. What I enjoyed was just the music.
mm,
I enjoyed listening to it, and at the time, I felt the only way I could be a part of it was by rapping,
mm-hmm,
and that's until I got introduced to who a P Diddy was, or who a Dame Dash was, or who a Barry Gordy was, like people who were behind the scenes who didn't actually record music, but they was a big part of all the music that was coming out.
mm-hmm,
So it took me learning about those guys to be like, you know what? I don't have to rap to be a part of it. I can do so many different things.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just realizing that I'm not good as Kendrick or J. Cole. I will never be as good as those guys. And so yeah, that was because anything I do, I want to be the best. And those guys were the
Right.
best to be at the time, and I just knew it wasn't gonna work.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad that you had that moment, because like I said, so many people don't have it, and then they
Mhm.
have all these yes men in their corner that just never say anything.
Yeah, and I think it's different now because at the time, like I think it's different now because of the internet. And
Hmm.
so like there are rappers out now who are not good at all, who are extremely successful.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's
It's
kind of
crazy.
different because at that time, like you had to be Jay-Z, Nas, Cole, Kendrick, Drake level to
Uh-huh.
be like the one of the best. But nowadays, not the case. But I was,
Hmm.
hey, if it doesn't work, there's always other things you can do.
Good question on that. How much of that, like, because I'm with you on that. There are a lot of rappers that are successful, and I'm like, how in the like that? I can't understand it. Like, but for some reason they're thriving. Like, how much of that do you think is a reflection of a metamorphosis of the industry and where rap is going? Because even like you said, like the J. Cole's and the Kendricks, they're considered like conscious rappers. Like, whoa, like, and it's like they're just rapping, but because they're so different from this mainstream music that's so popular now with this new generation, how much do you think of that is a change in the industry?
Well, I love having this conversation. The thing is, because hip hop has evolved into so many different ways, I think it's just an evolution of hip hop because it's on a broader scale. It's worldwide. It's really the number one genre. It's so
Mm-hmm.
mainstream, and hip hop, unlike any other genre, has so many different styles and flavors to it. Because if you think about it, right, like in '79 in the early '80s, rappers wasn't really that lyrical.
Right.
Like, put your hands in the air and wave them like you
Exactly.
just don't care. Like,
A hip
I
a
can do
hop.
that. I can do that. And so, I'm a student of it. So when you follow the trends, it wasn't until a guy like Rakim and KRS-One and Big Daddy Kane came in to where it became more of a technical skill level,
Hmm.
right? And then you kind of go from there, and then you get the Biggies, the Nas, the Jay, who does it on such a huge level. And then around the time that East Coast versus West Coast happens, then the South kind of sneaks up and be like, yo, the South is so diverse. Like Outkast is like, yo, the South got something to say, right? And then you look at it, Florida has a different sound with Uncle Luke. Louisiana has a different sound. Texas has a different sound. And so at that point, you start to see like hip hop is so different, and it's evolved into so many different things where you don't have to be as lyrically technical as
Hmm.
the J, and you can still have the same impact. Like, I don't think no one, like Little John is not a lyrical, but he's just as impactful as any lyrical rapper that's ever did it. You know,
True.
you you can say the same thing about Uncle Luke or
Hmm.
guys who weren't as lyrical, but they are so impactful that the point where it doesn't matter how great of a rapper they can be. It's about how they impacted the culture. So to answer back to your original question, I just think now is that these kids are putting their own twist to it, to where
Hmm.
like I can't necessarily do that, but I can do this and make it sound real good. And because our attention spans are so short, that if it sounds good and it feels good, we think it's
Hmm.
good.
Right.
It's just like eating junk food. Like it's not good for
Mm-hmm.
you, but it tastes really good and it feels really good. So
Exactly.
I think that it's good, but I just think it's a time where hip hop has evolved, and it's so many different facets of it that anybody can do it and do it in their own way.
Yeah, yeah. I like that perspective because I know, especially when you have this appreciation for what's considered now classic and old school hip hop, which is doesn't seem old to me, but I guess it says something about my age. But it's considered classic, and this new style, the first inclinations, those rants you hear, oh, hip hop is gone to trash, like it's just the industry is failing, and I'm sure every previous generation of artists thought the same before the artists that came after them, but it's just this evolution that's happening right in front of our eyes. So yeah, good points there.
Yeah, it's very diverse. And then the funny
Mm-hmm.
thing when people say like, "Oh, I don't understand what they're saying," we didn't understand nothing Juvenile was saying, but you ain't tell me back that ass up don't still go off 20
Look.
some years later. I'm just saying, like, you at the end of the day, I give these kids a pass because it's a feeling, it's a vibe, and if it
Right.
rots, and if at the end of the day, as long as it feel good and it sound good, I think it's good to go.
That makes sense. Okay, so kind of piggybacking off that a little bit with these different artists, and I know a part of your role, promotions coordinator, you have to promote, right? So how do you go about getting into the mindset of having to promote and push these artists, even those that you may not even feel like, I don't even know how much talent this artist has, but you have to get into this business mode where you have to go and really network and kind of represent Def Jam and the artists.
Mhm.
So how do you go about that?
I think at the end of the day, what I had to learn early on was like, you leave your personal feelings at home because at the end of the
Mm,
day, it's a business, right?
right.
Like I might not, condone everything that this artist does or the music they put out, but at the end of the day, it's my job to make the world think this is the best shit that's ever out.
Mm-hmm.
So, we treat every artist differently because every artist has their own vision of what they want to do. Our main jobs are to basically bring that vision to life,
Mm-hmm.
and so if their artists, you know, I use Kanye for an example. Like, even though Kanye does some of the most and says some of the most outlandish things in the world, right?
Right.
It's like, he's the most, he keeps the lights on in the building, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though he says things like, yo, you still had a job to do. And me personally, the good thing is that I love his music so much that I can kind of like be like, it's Kanye, whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Kanye has a unique vision every time he does a project.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite moments was, last year when he said, I want to bring a church everywhere. Like, I'm gonna do Sunday service, right? And
Mm-hmm.
he does Sunday service every week in LA. And I have to be there to work that event, even though I'm tired. I don't want to be there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's Kanye and it's his vision, and it's a part of my job to help bring his vision to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just think it's just, you take every artist and every project, and you just realize at the end of the day, it's your job to kind of maximize what they're trying to do.
So that's cool that you got to be there when he was doing, all of these church services and see that creative vision kind of unfold. Um, I guess at what point did that start becoming normal for you? Like you're just like, I'm a music professional. This is my job. Because I feel like most people think all the time you would just freak out like, oh my God, it's Kanye West. Like, but I know at some point that becomes normal, meeting celebrities, you have a first name basis with them, you see them all the time, and they become people, they become human.
It's actually funny you said it. So I still like freak out. I'm not gonna lie. I still like freak. Like, it really depends. Like, going back to the conversation earlier, like when I met Kendrick, like I met Kendrick on the elevator. We was going up on the
Oh
same
my
floor,
God.
and I like he like it's me, him, and one other guy in the elevator. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh shit, this is Kendrick Lamar,
Oh my
like
God.
right beside me. Like, and he said, "What up?" I was like, "Yeah, what up?" And it's like awkward, right? And the first time I met Kanye, I was speechless. When the first time I met Kanye, he shook my hand, he looked me in my eyes. I was speechless. I couldn't even get my words out. I was like, he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, but honestly, I would say it became it balanced out. I would say kind of around like after my first year, because like the first year I would say I was new, and I'm getting interested. And when I came in, like I came in right on the heels of like the good music rollout albums that came. It was
Mhm.
like Nas, it was Pusha T, it was Tiana, it was Kanye, it was Kissy Go. So I came right after that. And I think when I came in, like Logic was getting ready to drop a project, and I think it was right when Two Chains was getting ready to put out his album, Rapper Go to the League. And I remember like just being like in close proximity to him. And I was like, yo, this is Two Chains. But I didn't feel like the jitters.
Mhm.
And I think like right then at that moment, I was like, because I was at a radio station with him, he was doing an interview, and I was like, yo, I didn't feel like the jitters or nothing like that. And then after a year, my bosses kind of allowed me to kind of be more involved in the projects, right? I was
Mhm.
able to take some of these artists on the road. You know, I was able to go to, like I said, see Two Chainz do his interview, see
Mhm.
Jada Kids, go to Jada Kids' interview.
Mhm.
You know, we have some new artists, Fredo Bang, who's an artist out of Baton Rouge. You know, I helped him do his whole promo run in LA. You know, and so
Mhm.
I think as I got more involved and hands on in like the projects, like it became I was more focused on getting the job done versus like being like fanning out.
Being a fan, right?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think it kind of like after like a year, it kind of like settled down. But I'm not gonna lie, like it still happens. I met Cardi B earlier this year, and I was
Mm.
like, yo, like this is Cardi B. Like I was like, but I like I said, it's toned out. But there's some people like the day I meet Beyonce, I'm pretty sure I freak out. The day I meet Jay Z, I'm pretty sure I freak out. But for the most part, after a year and being more involved in the projects, I kind of was like, yo, let me handle my business, not fan out and get the job done.
That makes sense that after a while it would become normal. Kendrick is like my favorite artist hands down. So I would probably pass out. The fact that you even uttered "What's up" back, like I don't even know if I would have made that.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, super dope. Like thinking about how much you have to, like you said, go on the road and kind of be with these artists and be in the room with them. How do you go about um managing your personal brand, right? Because you still have to have your personal brand and you have to have a good reputation in order to establish these relationships with these other people you have to connect with in the industry for these artists on their behalf. So how do you build your personal brand in addition to, of course, having to build your artist's brand as a part of your job?
I think the way I look at it is kind of like, it's all about what you want people to feel and know about you,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I first came to Def Jam, I was fairly like nervous, young. I was 24. Yeah, I was 24 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything is like I'm everything like the lifestyle of being in the music industry itself was brand new to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like going to a restaurant and spending $1,000
Ooh.
was insane to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's the executives are there and we got radio partners there and we might have an artist there. So just going there and everybody's getting whatever, 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 and the bill is like $1,000 or $2,000, right? And
Yes.
so I was like, yo, this is insane to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just, having a corporate card or getting mileage, like all these little nuances that like my bosses have been able to enjoy for years, all that was like brand new to me, right? And what I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn was like, this is my life. Like I'm a part of this. And knowing that I'm a part of this, you get a little bit more confidence when you kind of go into rooms with these artists or other people, and they know like if you there, they know okay, he's there for work because everyone's not in this room,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you have to be something of importance. I kind of have built a name for myself, just being at all these different events, and people know, yo, that's MJ from Def Jam, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the coolest things I did this purposely, was like when we did events, when we did like album listening parties or showcases, I always worked the door.
Hmm.
And the reason I always volunteer, like, yeah, I'm gonna work the door, right? And that's because I got a chance to meet so many people.
Right.
And I might know people. Like for example, like, do you know who Elliot Wilson is?
No.
Well, Elliot Wilson, he's that guy that does Rap Radar, right, for Title.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, him and B Dot. So anyway, he's like a big dog in the music industry, right? And he would come to our events, and I would treat him like he was like super special. Like I would like, yo, Elliot, yo, you ain't gotta stand in line, bro. Come through, just come through. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he would, when he would see me as like another event that I had to be there, he's like, yo, MJ, what up, man? What's good? So I
Mm,
kind of established that relationship, like, yo, MJ's
right.
gonna take care of me.
Smart.
So that was my thing. I made sure, like, I wanted people to know, like, I was gonna make sure they was good and I was gonna out hustle everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my brand was, when you thought of MJ, like, yo, MJ gonna take care of me, right? And that was like my thing. So anytime we had album listening parties, Grammy parties, whatever the case might be, they saw me, and after a couple of years, you start to see me. I was like, damn, every event I go to, you work in the door, and so it's like, yo, I'm putting in that work. So the way I kind of built my brand was always making sure that I was the guy that was willing to take care of the most important people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the artists. Like I remember T.I. one time I was at an event and T.I. showed up. And T.I. was like, yo, I'm trying to get some drinks. You need some drinks, whatever. I got you. Don't even worry about it, right? So I just
Mm-hmm.
kind of built my brand of just being that guy that's going to make sure you good and make sure that I was going to out hustle. So, over time, like I've only been here for 2 years, but over time, people will remember me from just being that kid that was willing to do whatever to make sure they was good.
Right.
I wanted to be an over deliver. Like, I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
said that right, but I wanted to always over deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Always give them more than what they expected.
Yeah, and it clearly it's worked for you because you seem to be doing pretty well and moving up fast. So that's a strategy that'll take you far. And the master networker that you've had to become, and I knew you before you were at Def Jam, so I already knew you were personable and talkative, very confident. But now having to constantly network, not just for work, but like you said, as a part of your personal brand, you have to do things like that and work the door and all the confidence that you have to be in that role, in that position. Did you always feel that way? Like, were you always that confident, or did you have to kind of work on your networking skills a little bit?
I definitely had to work on it. I wasn't like, just growing up, I wasn't always as confident. It was listening to Kanye West, which really made me confident, to be honest with you.
Mm,
It was that College Dropout album, and I was like, yo,
that's the
like,
album. That's the one.
I was like, yo, like, this guy is insanely confident.
Right.
And, he was just, even to this day, he's just so fearless, and right or wrong, he's going to say how he feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just having that kind of rubbed off on me with like that mindset of like, yo, I can't be afraid to speak up, speak what's on my mind. And if I see something I want or someone I want to connect with, like, don't be afraid to just approach that person. There's a way to do it. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, there's a finesse to it. I always kind of, when it came to networking, I always wanted to be able to provide something for that person. I didn't want to
Mm,
always ask, like, if you the guy that works at like Spotify or some huge company or whatever case, and I want to be, in relation with you, I would just, kind of like, yo, what's up, yo, congratulations on X, Y, and Z. That was super great. Yo, if you ever need help with X, Y, and Z, feel free to reach out. We got certain resources we can help you out. And they were like, oh yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, definitely, man. I would definitely, even if they don't hit me up or whatever the case may be, but I approach them in a way that I'm offering something versus me asking for something,
mm-hmm.
right? So I'm not necessarily like, yeah, I will ask for something eventually,
Yeah,
but
eventually.
yeah, but in the first meeting, I wanted to make sure that I was the one that was offering. But no, I wasn't always. It took some time, just kind of, because when I was an intern at Atlantic, I was being in rooms with people who were super powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and I would be so nervous, and I was like, yo, like, I gotta kind of shake out of that. And I think it was a time when I was at a Grammy event, a Grammy party, and I met do you remember AJ from AJ and Free 106
I
Park?
sure do. Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, okay, great. So I met AJ one time, and he spoke to me. Like, he came and spoke to me because
Wow.
I was working the door, and he came and spoke. He said, "Yo, I appreciate you," or whatever the case may be. I said, "Yo, you AJ from 106 Park?" He said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
man." And I was like, "Yeah, I wish I would have got a picture that night." But uh, but no, but so when he came to me and he saw me as a person, that's
Mm-hmm.
when I kind of was like, "Yo, like, we all people,
Mm-hmm.
we all human." We all have certain things in common. So at the end of the day, I started stop looking at these people like they were gods, and
Mm-hmm.
just looking at these people like we were on the same level. Like, no matter what the position was or how much money they had, I just looked at it like, at one point in time you was me. That's
Right.
how I looked at it. Like, at
Sure.
one point in time you was in my position, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of always played off of that and just kind of used that to always, make the network that I want to make.
Now, thinking about that and kind of having that retrospective, like, okay, at one point they used to be just like me. Clearly you're going far, you're moving up in the music industry. So what are your plans for your career? Like, what do you see for yourself over the next 10 years? Do you have actionable steps or like goals or milestones that you want to hit?
Yes, my ultimate goal is to be the president of Def Jam Recordings, the president and CEO. I said that
Nice.
a few years ago, in my diary. That was always I always wanted to work at Def Jam, so I accomplished that. My thing is to one day run this company, and at some point start my own company, and do different things. But I want to retire at 40, so I'm trying to figure out how I
I can get there as quickly. Gotta move fast.
as quickly as possible. I'm trying to retire at 40, have a bunch of kids, and just like sit back and enjoy life post 40. But yeah, I mean, the next steps for me, it's actually funny because I had a conversation about this earlier. But the next steps for me is kind of, once COVID is kind of, over or kind of ceased or become, better or whatever the case, just getting to that next level and getting to that next step. And whatever that step is, even if it's in promo or some other department, is to kill it and do it on take it up a whole notch. Like, that's the thing. I feel like I know my potential and I know what I can do, and I know I haven't even scratched the surface of what I'm going to do. So I think, yeah, I think once I get to like the next level, I think I'm going to take it up to like LeBron James playoff mode, and just kill it in a way that I can go run up the chain, become manager, senior director, VP, EVP. I mean, senior vice president, executive vice president, GM, and then president.
Looks like you're headed that way. You're running through it. You're clearly establishing good rapport with these artists. They know you. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have, how hard you work in your career. If you don't connect with people, you can work the same job in the same role. Nothing will change. You got to connect with people.
Exactly. That's the most interpersonal skills are more important than anything else, because at the end of the day, like my boss told me the first day, he was like, when I interviewed, he said, I gotta like you. Like no, I swear. That's what he told me. He's like, yo, I gotta like you. Like, yo, you got a degree. That matter of fact, they didn't even look at my resume. They didn't even know. No, real talk. They didn't even know I had a master's degree until like a conversation of years later.
Wow.
Like,
it says a lot.
Yeah, we was having a conversation, and it's like they was like, we was having a conversation about where I got my master's degree from, and I was like, yo, I went to school there. I got my master's there. I was like, wait, you got a master's? They're like, when did you do that? I was, and I think too, because I was young at the time, so I guess they didn't like, because most people I know, because you got your master's young too, right?
I do.
I guess they didn't really, because at the time, like, that's like, when you look at it on a grand scheme, like, a lot of people don't. First of all, a lot of people don't graduate college in 4 years, let alone get a master's degree at 2 years later. Like, that's not a normal thing as I thought it was, right? So they were just shocked at the fact that I was so young and had a master's degree, but they did not know I had one. So
wow.
they didn't. I was like, y'all didn't look at my resume. They was like, hell no, they didn't look at their resume.
We didn't even care. That's a piece of paper.
Yeah, I had a resume. Yeah, my interview was so fun. I had my first interview, and it's a gem that I would drop. So the music industry is different from any other industry, right? You don't come in there like you would think it's like you come in there with a suit. Like, no, you come in there with a suit and snow, right? Any other interview, you will come in a suit or what? No, you don't come in there with no suit. You come in there, some jeans is cool, maybe a little blazer, I went to an interview in sneakers, like, it's cool, right? So they want you to be relaxed. They want to make sure that you are the word that was used, a cultural fit. That's the word. That's the word that was used, right? So my first interview that I went to, I had a whole suit on, and I had a briefcase. I had my resume. I had my cover letter that I spent all night working on, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get the job. And I went. I did the interview, and they was like, I don't know, these might be square. I don't know. Like, it took someone vouching for me, a good friend of mine, vouching for me super hard, because they called them back and was like, yo, you guys.
You said it's a square?
Yeah, they thought I was a square. So I almost didn't get the job off of just the way I dressed.
Wow.
Right? And you would think like, yo, I look like a person that's coming for interviews. Like,
right, exactly.
Yeah, so just to see that, and then the next interview I came in, I had a shirt, some jeans, and some Jordans on, and we laughed and talked for like 30, 40 minutes, and that conversation went great, and
Perfect.
we was cursing and saying all type of shit, and like and it was because we was able to connect
Mhm.
on, like you said, on a personal level. Like, yo, not only can we do work with this guy, we can hang out with this guy, we can go have drinks with this guy, we can go, like, when you work for like a music company or just any type of company, you want that family vibe.
Mhm.
It's like, yo, I've been to my boss's house and had dinner with their family. Like, I've, done so many different things. And it's because they see me not just as an employee, but as a friend or as like as a brother or whatever the case may be. And
Mhm.
so I think it's very important that you're able to connect with people because relationships are golden,
Right.
right? Relationships are more golden than anything. And in reality, it's like, yo, it's not about, people always say, like, it's not about what you know, but who you know.
Mhm.
I always take it a step further. I say it's not about who you know, it's about who fucks with you like that.
Right.
Like,
Right. That's so true.
yeah, I know you, but like I don't really
I
fuck
don't
with
fool
you.
with
Like,
you like that. Exactly.
yeah, like
Mhm.
you alright, you cool, but I'm not. I don't. We don't have a relationship where I'm willing to put my name on you.
Mhm.
And that's something that's very, very important. Like, who are vouching for you, who are the people that saying, yo, MJ is this guy. And that was just as important as any degree that I had. If I never had the senior vice president over at Atlantic and my guy over at the recording academy to say, yo, MJ is your guy, I would never
Mhm.
got the job, no matter how much education experience that I had. It was coming from my ability to maintain those relationships and have great relationships with those guys where they were able to say, yo, this is the guy, you should hire him.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. There are so many opportunities that I've gotten just because I knew somebody. I would probably say maybe the last 2 or 3 jobs I had, it was because I knew somebody. There was a job I got, my resume initially was rejected. Kind of like how you said your first interview, they were like, nah. It was rejected, and somebody was like, "Oh no, I know Jazz, she cool, like she's a good employee or whatever." So yeah, that's super important. Like your reputation, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what you do, like that is what's gonna, push for your career or your business.
Mm, definitely.
Thinking about, again, this reputation that you have and everything, how do you feel like that impacts your community back home? Because I know you're from a small town in Arkansas. I'm Arkansas native too. So are you like you the hood role model now? Like everybody want to be like Mike? Like what is that?
Actually, so it's actually funny that you said it. I definitely believe that, I forget you want to say who role model, but I've shown people that you can make it out of this environment,
Mm,
right? And it's because, like, not only I'm from Arkansas, I'm from Mariana. I don't know if you've ever been there and
yeah,
heard of it, but
yeah,
it's very rough, right?
right.
It's a very rough, city, very poverty-stricken environment, a
Mm-hmm,
lot of violence, a lot of gangs, and I grew up around all of that. My cousins, friends, like all of, I was just a I was like the good kid, Mad City type of thing. Like I was
mm-hmm,
around it, but I never participated in those things on a certain level that would get me locked up or anything like that. And so I think people seeing like, yo, this is the same kid that was, because I used to have, like I told you, I had a studio in my bedroom, right? And I used to
mm-hmm,
have a lot of friends who were aspiring rappers, and most of those guys were drug dealers. So
mm-hmm,
they would come to my room and like, record. And it's like, yo, to see me now, like, yo, I have a friend that I'm still close with to this day who used to come to my house all the time. And he tells me all the time how proud he was of me because like he
mm-hmm,
remember me being the guy in the studio recording with the gangsters of the gangsters and just being like, yo, this guy that's gonna rap. And I was always the guy like, yo, I'm going to be the one that make it. Like I always said that. And
mm-hmm.
so I think one of the things that I did with my community was just show them like, yo, it's so much more than what we're used to,
Yes.
right? And which is, sad because of like, it's sad to even be like, yo, only thing I can look forward to is either working at this grocery store,
Mm,
being a drug dealer who has aspirations of being a rapper, or working, at some place where you're not happy. And I think
mm-hmm,
for me to, go through what I went through, take those chances, and actually land something that seemed nearly impossible,
mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's the thing. Like I was the neighborhood kid. Like people, you saw me. Like I'm a real person. It's
Yeah.
different when we saw like growing up and we was looking at P Diddy and we was
Mhm.
looking at all those guys who were millionaires and billionaires. It's different when you have a guy that's on the come up that's from your own city. Like I went to school with this
Yeah.
guy. Like I went to school, and the thing is too, I'm not from New York or LA, right?
Mhm.
So I had to go through just being in a market that's not even a music market,
Mhm.
right? And come out of Arkansas. So I think one of the biggest things I did in my community was just show people that there's so much more than what we can do. And not only just that, like, shit, we ain't all gotta be rappers.
Right. Exactly.
And so just showing it, because like I said, I honestly feel like need I knew what I know now back then, I would have got here sooner.
Mhm.
And I just think showing people like, yo, there's jobs in the music industry. Like I know so
Yes.
many people who can draw. Like, yo, we have an art department. You like recording videos, yo, we have a
Mhm.
video production department. Yo, you like being in the studio listening to beats. We got A&R.
Mhm.
Like, oh, you like, like doing or whatever the case you might like, there's something in the music industry department that you can do and that
Mhm.
translate with your skills. And so I think one of the biggest things is just showing not just my community, but any community in the world, like, yo, these young kids, y'all don't have to be rappers, bro.
Yes.
There are so many different ways to make it out within music. And if you put your mind to it, you can do it. And I'm proof of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I want to have you on. There are so many other careers in the music industry that don't require you to rap. Like my brother, he went through the same thing. He was younger, he wanted to be a rapper. He started making beats, and actually to a lot of people made beats. But his stuff actually took off, and now he's an audio engineer and a songwriter. I have a cousin
Dope.
who used to produce for like Love and Hip Hop, and he did the same thing. Wants to be a rapper, realized like this not it, but I still want to do something. So there are other jobs in the industry. I think, like I said, a lot of people think that because what we see on TV, right? We see rappers and we see actors. So we're like, if you want to be in Hollywood, that's what you got to do. You got to do one of those. But there are people who run the sets. There are people who run the studio sessions. There are people that schedule that, and you still have the access to this industry with all these artists, and even may have the opportunity to contribute to their creative process. You hear writers all the time who are like writing for Beyonce and all
Hmm.
these other big artists. So it's more out there than just what we see. The behind the scenes people are getting paid just as well, on depending on where you are.
No, no, not just no, no, not just well, but better.
ah, see,
Like
yeah.
artists don't have health insurance.
Mm.
Like they don't have most of these artists. Let me tell you something. This is when I really knew. Like I remember having a conversation. This before I worked in Def Jam, so this is a whole different
Mhm.
company. But I
Mhm.
remember having a conversation with nigga executive. We were just talking. He's playing game. He was like, "Yo," he had an artist call him need money for his phone bill. And I'm like,
Wow.
won't say the artist, but I was like, yo, he needs money for a fucking phone bill. He's like, yeah. It was like, how the, like I
Mm.
thought dude had the record that was like, he said, man, most of these guys get their advance money, they blow it, they owe the IRS, they
Mm.
in debt to the label, and just because we hand you $1 million, that don't mean you know what to do with it.
Mm.
This is very important. To paying your taxes is very, very important.
Yeah.
So, because this is the reality of it. The lifespan of a rapper is not that long.
Mm.
It's like you are hot maybe 2 to 3 years. You might be lukewarm for like another two, and then
Mhm.
like your 6 or 7 year, you kind of like super cold. Like, remember Petey Pablo? And I'm just using him as an example
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I listened to him earlier, like Ying Yang Twins, people that I love growing up. Who would have ever
Right.
thought? I was telling somebody like, whoever thought Nelly would not be Nelly today?
Man, I was talking about that not too long ago. What happened to Nelly? He
Yeah,
was
and people like,
hot.
yeah, and this the thing though, like the reality of it, like everyone is not going to be in the game as long as Drake, as long as
Yeah.
Jay, as long like
Mhm.
10 years, 15, like those are like those are outliers. Like
Mhm.
those don't happen to every artist. So, as a rapper, you got to figure out how do you maximize your hotness within
Mhm.
those few years. And so, like I said, behind the scenes, that's where the longevity's at.
Yes.
That's what because these people that I talk to, these people been in the game for my boss has been in the game for 20 years, right? I
Mm.
know people that have been in the music industry for 30, 40, like these guys, and they still able
Wow.
to feed their families off
Yes.
of their passion. And I think to myself, like, damn, like, these executives were able to do that. But what about, Millie Mel or Grandmaster Caz or
Mhm.
like, Slick Rick and like all these OGs from like the 80s and 90s who or the reason these executives have their jobs or whatever the case like that, are they able to feed their family, in 2020, and
Mm-hmm.
now this is COVID, they not able to do shows,
Yeah, that's
right?
rough.
So you just like, yo, like a lot of these guys, a lot of people are aspiring to be rappers, but you got to realize like rap is a it's a short game,
Mm-hmm.
and if you got to think about it, like every major rapper that's huge, that's widely successful, was well diverse. Like Jay-Z's a billionaire, not just off of his
Mm-hmm.
catalog, but because of everything he did. Kanye's a
Yeah.
billionaire because of everything he did outside of
Yes.
rap.
That
And so
portfolio.
yeah, so that business, so that's something that's very, very important. And if I'm able to say anything, like just growing, I understand why we all aspire to be rappers, is because when you living in these environments, you just want to make it out. and
Yes.
rap and rap is the only genre, I believe it's the only genre where almost every rapper come from these same environments that we come from, and
Mm-hmm.
they're millionaires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh snap, like this guy was in the hood, he was down bad, now he's a millionaire, he's traveling the world doing X, Y, and Z. That's inspiring to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because any other genre, like R&B, or you have to have actual talent.
Yeah. You
you have
right.
to
You
have
do. You
you have
do.
to have God-given talent. And if you ain't got God-given talent to either play sports or do music, you like, yo, like rap showed us that you don't necessarily have to have the technical talent to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing for us, because at the time we just trying to make it out. So we not seeing the behind the scenes, and so for me or for anybody to kind of like, yo, like I'm the guy, I came from those environments, and I became as successful, or will over time become more successful than the rappers that you see on TV,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because all their money that they receive, that's upfront money. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? They not playing the long game, they playing the short game.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, like we've seen and find that the rappers is hot right now, most of those guys are not going to be hot in 5 years from now.
Yes, that's so true. From you being on the other side of the industry, knowing that so many rappers don't have that financial literacy and don't know how to manage their money, are there resources that kind of teach them that? Should there be resources, or do you feel like that's not on the label to take on that responsibility?
There definitely should be resources. There's a feeling, like I remember there was an artist that we had, a young guy from the hood. We talked the same language. He got signed, things didn't work out, you know, and I was always like, dang, like, it's a kid that kind of came out, his life kind of changed,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's like, I don't know if he's back in the same situation, but like, yo, you accomplished your dreams, and I'm assuming that the money that you was given, I'm pretty sure you probably don't still have that,
Yeah.
right? So it's one of those things that I definitely do think of. But at the end of the day, the label is a business just like anything else, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Chick-fil-A, McDonald's doesn't care about your health.
Right.
They don't, their job is to make money, and that's just the
That's it.
capitalism. Yeah, like there is no, they don't care about your well-being. Their job is to make money, and at the end of the day, and you can't be mad with them about that, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the business is going to do what's best for them. It is your job, it is your
Mm-hmm.
responsibility to either do it, find a way yourself, or hire people that you trust that are willing to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
I always think, as an aspiring rapper, the most important people on your team is your lawyer and your business manager.
Yeah.
Getting that person that's gonna, your lawyer who's gonna make sure you're good, and a business manager that's gonna make sure your bills are paid, making sure the IRS is paid, which is definitely the most
You
important
got
part.
to. Yeah,
Like,
they not gonna play with you.
cause ain't nobody gonna tell you, yo, make sure, like, all that money you get at the end of the year, the IRS gonna ask for their piece, make sure you got it,
Mm-hmm.
or not, you gonna be in a Wesley Snipes type of situation.
Right.
So definitely that. But I definitely think there should be some resources for artists, because you take a kid out the hood, 18 years old, because at 18 years old, hell, I didn't know about taxes. I still kind of don't. So
Look, I'm with you, still learning. It's an
yeah,
ongoing process.
yeah, that's what, that's not even just a music industry thing. I believe that's just a society thing.
Yeah.
Like, the things that are important, credit, like, oh my god, if I would have knew about credit and how to
Look,
manage and not just
preach,
accept every credit card that was
preach.
given to me, like I would be well off further than I am. So
Yes.
it's a society thing that we
Yes.
should, every kid or every teenager should learn about credit. They should learn about taxes. They should learn, entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
It's so many different things that should be just taught before we are even in a position to, receive an amount of money that can change our lives. If you win the lotto, first thing you're gonna do is go buy your house, go buy your car, and I don't see how you win the lotto and go broke in 10 years, but it has
It
happened.
happens. Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think those resources should be provided, but like I said, I don't think a major corporation is going to provide it. I think it has to come from like a third party to
Mm-hmm.
provide those services, which that's not a bad business idea. Let me write that down.
One of the purposes of this show, we need all the resources, all the businesses, and make them all black.
Yeah,
Let's
like,
build the
yeah,
community.
yeah.
So you've already dropped so many gems like throughout this whole episode, but before we get ready to wrap up, is there anything else that you would like to, provide as far as advice for aspiring creatives who are looking to kind of get into the business side of the music industry?
Well, I feel like there's two parts of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're when you're on the journey to get here, right? Here's the thing you need to know. It's gonna be hard as hell.
Mm,
There's gonna be so many struggles and obstacles and things that you're gonna do that's gonna happen that's gonna make you want to quit, right?
yeah.
But I think this is one thing you need to look out for. You need to find out, is this is what meant for me?
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you know if something is meant for you, right? If you're aspiring to do something and you're going for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And huge tragedies tend to happen in the
Mm,
process of you trying to accomplish it, right? Like, just quick little story. Like, when I was out, I skipped over some details, but when I moved to LA, like, I lost both of my parents. Like, when I first moved out to
mm,
LA, all right, I lost both of my parents in the same week, right?
goodness.
And when that happened, of course, devastation kicks in. But I looked at
Yeah.
it like, yo, this could have happened at any time, but it happened right when I left on my quest to do what I'm trying to do. And
Mm,
I looked at it like a sign of like, yo, it's gonna be hard and it's gonna be rough, but if you make it through, it's
mm,
gonna be light at the end of this tunnel.
mm,
And I think that's so, because so many people, one of the things that, everyone has a dream. I honestly feel like everyone should have the right and the ability to chase their dreams and accomplish their dreams,
mm-hmm.
right? And one of the things that one of the reasons that a lot of people don't actually get to that point where they can accomplish it is that, when things get hard, they quit and they listen to other people who don't have the same vision as them.
Yes. So
You know,
true.
and when these things are happening in your life, if you move out to LA, you move out to New York to follow your dreams, and you go broke, or you don't have the money, find a way to just get to the next step. And if you're
Mm,
able to do that, then you will be able to accomplish the things that you are seeking to accomplish.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's extremely important. So just sticking with the journey.
Yes.
Just sticking with the journey is what's important in order to accomplish your dreams, and realizing and just seeing the signs. When things get rough, when things become difficult, just see it through, and at some point in time, things are going to open up for you.
That's excellent advice and insight, because it can get rough on any journey. And I didn't know about your parents, so definitely sorry to hear about that. I know that had to be hard, and then to still continue to persevere through and say, well, I need to stick to the path. I have to stick to the course, and I'm pretty sure that played a lot into like your motivation to see things through.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of Eric Thomas.
Hmm.
He's like a motivational speaker. I listen to a
Yeah, I
lot of
listen
his.
to him too.
Yeah, and I listen to him a lot, and he was like, he said, "Hell, don't cry to give up. Hell, cry to keep going." He said, "You're already hurting." He said, "Hell,
True.
get some from it."
Right.
He said, "Shit." He was like, "You already hurting." He was like, "Yo, just get something from it." So that was my thing when those things happened in my life. It was an eye opener that I
Hmm.
was like, I'm a spiritual person, so I always looked at it like, God was like, "Yo, you got no choice but to rely on me now."
Mm.
That's how I looked at it. It was like, "Yo, you ain't got, like, yo, we finna get on this journey, and you just me and you."
Yeah.
All right, yeah, you ain't gonna have your daddy call, your mom ain't call, grandma. Nope, just me and you gonna have to trust me.
Mhm.
And that was the biggest thing, was trusting God to be like, yo, like I have to trust that you're gonna make things happen for me, because there was so many times where I did not see how I was gonna just get through whatever I was going through at the time.
Mhm.
You know, whether that's been a bill that needed to be paid, car insurance,
Right.
or just having a car. It was. I remember hitting rock bottom one time. Like, and this is another thing, right? I hit rock bottom. And when I say I was rock bottom, I was extremely broke. My car had just broke down. I'm in LA at the time. Extremely broke, no money in my bank account. My car's broke down. I'm working at Target at this time, right? I'm working at Target.
Yeah.
And I'm walking an hour each way to do my job at Target.
Ooh.
And I was so depressed, and I cried every day just because I
Mhm.
couldn't believe I had gotten to a point where, like, I came all the way out here for this.
Yes.
And that was like my middle of the road moment where I was like, I wanted to quit and I wanted to give up. And I was listening to so much music. And it's this rapper. I'm gonna give him a plug because he's not a mainstream rapper. It was this rapper named Sylvan LaCue is his
Mm.
name, and he has a album out, and he has a song called "Make It Out Alive." That's the name of the song. And
Mhm.
in the song, he's talking about him wanting to follow his dreams, but he's going through the struggle. And he said, "I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I just want to make it out alive." Like he was just
Mhm.
saying, like, "Yo, I just want to make it out of this damn storm
Right.
and survive." And so I was listening to that, and it was just motivating me. I was like, "Yo, God, I gotta make it out of this." And I had a blessing come through. I had a refund check. That was the blessing. That
Them
I,
refund checks used to come through in the clutch, boy. I remember
yo,
them days in college.
and it was a refund check because I had applied for a loan that I didn't even know I could get. And so I had
Mhm.
applied for the loan, and it was like a refund check. And it allowed, like, yo, I got the refund check. I was like, yo, I quit my job at Target now. And I was like, I get my car fixed. I was able, and like, it was something that, like, in the nick of time that happened, and
Mm.
it changed the trajectory,
Yes.
right? At least got me out of that situation that I was in. So I think it's very important to, keep that faith and that trust in God, and just knowing that whatever you going through, if he brought you to it, he can bring you through it,
Say
right?
that again.
So just know, like, whatever situation you facing is not a death sentence.
Mhm.
Like, I would tell myself this. These are some things I would always tell myself. I said, the one thing I was saying to myself all the time when things got hard, I said, look, God didn't bring me this far to leave me. Cause hell, this is
Mhm.
far. Like, if he wanted me to fail, I would have failed, goddamn me, in Mariana. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's the
how.
West Coast. I'm by the ocean.
Like, yeah, like, I don't think God would allow me to get way out here
Uh-huh.
to get to dreamland and not accomplish the dream.
Yes.
Like, it didn't make sense. I was like, yo, God wouldn't bring me this far to, like, leave me. And then small blessings was coming through. Like, I got my
Mhm.
internship at Atlantic, which was very hard to do at the time, right? I wasn't
Mhm.
working. I mean, I wasn't making money. I was dead as broke, but I'm working in Atlantic. I'm at least in the building.
Yes.
And that spawned off into everything else that it became. But at the time, I was more so like, in my mind, I was just like, yo, like, every little step that I can do that gets me closer was all the faith that I needed,
Mhm.
right? Because, like I said, so many details in the story. Like, before I was at Def Jam, I was going on a bunch of interviews and getting told no. I think right before Def Jam, I think I had went on like 20 interviews. Warner Brothers, Atlantic, Interscope, all these major labels. I was going in the building, giving the same sales pitch, right? Every time.
Mhm.
And they was all telling me no. And, to some, that would be devastating. Like, yo, maybe this is not meant for me, X, Y, and Z. But I was like, I was thinking to myself, like, yo, it was a time where I couldn't even get this type of interview.
Mhm.
There was a time I couldn't even be in these rooms. And I
Yeah.
said, at least at bare minimum, people will know who I am, you
Yes.
know? And so I was, definitely just taking one step at a time. And every step that I took was all the strength that I needed to just keep going. And so, don't be blinded by the long journey. Just try to stay, focused on what's in front of you.
Mhm.
And just all you got to do is get to that next, put one foot in front of the other, and just get to that next step. right?
Yes.
And then you're gonna look back and like, oh shit, I made it through that. Oh, I can make it through anything now.
Right.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
I thought it was my parents. I was like, yo, I was like, what's the worst that could happen, nigga? It just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that. It's like it once you feel like you said you hit rock bottom, you lost both of your parents. Like it's like what else is gonna happen now? Like
Yeah,
I gotta go up.
yeah,
Nowhere to go.
ain't shit else that can happen to me that's gonna hurt as what is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always say I did an article. I always say, you know, in hindsight, I can say that was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me at that time
Mm,
was because of the fact that it gave me the numbness and the strength to overcome anything. Like, yo, that's the worst shit that could ever happen to you at this time.
mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't write like when I tell these stories, I be like, damn, like I must be a novel writer because these things I can't believe myself. Like,
Yeah.
no, like, you know, because, you know, it's so much backstory to it. Like, both of my parents passed same week, same day. I buried
Mm,
both of them on the same day. And when I say my parents, I'm referring to my dad and my grandmother who raised me. So,
mm-hmm.
cause my mom, my biological mother passed when I was 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I say that, that's what I'm referring to, just for, you know, context. But,
Yeah.
you know, the two most influential people in my life that I, you know, cared about so deeply, for them to pass away in two separate instances, days apart,
Mm.
you know, and for them to be buried on the same day. Within, I was only in LA for a week.
So you just got there.
I
My
wasn't
goodness.
even done. I wasn't even done unpacking. And for me to go back and have to deal with that, and I know a lot of people at the time, you know, my wife, family members, everyone thought like, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna move back. And a lot of people was like, yo, you know, so what you gonna do? It's like, I'm going back to LA. I buried both of my parents on Saturday. I was back in LA on Monday, went to class.
Mm.
That was at the end because my professor knew about it. And he, you know, I think he was under the impression I was gonna drop out.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in on Monday. He was shocked to see me. He was like, "Yo, like you good?" And of course, I wasn't good, but I masked, you know, pain very, very well,
Mm-hmm.
right? You wouldn't know I was going through something unless I told you. So, you know, I definitely say like when you go through moments like that in your life, it puts things in perspective. Like
Yes.
we ain't gonna be here forever, and God promises one thing. He's like, y'all niggas gonna die. I'm
That's
promising
it.
you that. Like
That's
that's all.
it.
That's the only guarantee you got from me. Is that you niggas gonna die. Now, you know, I ain't gonna tell you when, and I ain't gonna tell you how. But
Nope.
it's up to you to figure out life. And when you have that mindset
Mm-hmm.
that life is not forever, you say, you know, whatever it is that I want to do, or whatever it is I want to do in my life, hell, I gotta do it because I ain't gonna be able to do it in my second life.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to get it done for sure. One of my really good friends, she passed a few years back, and I remember one of our last few conversations, but she died of cancer, so before she got really sick, I remember her saying like, Jazz, this is not what I want to do. Like, as far as her career, she's like, I don't want to do this. I know it's something more for me out here. I gotta see what else interests me. And she passed like a few months
Mm.
later. So
Oh
like that was
wow.
it. That was it. So it's like we have all these plans, but you don't know what's about to happen. So you need to, I know it sounds cliche, but you really got to move like it's your last day.
You know, because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you don't know, and you know my,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the thing about it is, and just on a movie level, the way I look at it, like I had conversations, you know, both my parents right before I went to LA, and you know when I look back on it, the conversations seem to be like a an ode to them being like, you got it,
Mm.
like it's like don't worry about it, like you got, like the last conversation I had with my dad was like, you know, we talked about, because we would talk all the time, but like the last meaningful conversation that we had was so like in depth, and it was so like it was like he was trying to give me all what he had left to give,
Mm.
as far as like, and as far as like advice. And you know he told me, and he had never said this before, and it was something, he's like, yo, I'm proud of you.
Mm.
And like I cried when he said that, because like he was like my toughest critic, and so
Yeah.
like, you know, it's nothing that I could ever do to like really really impress him.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, oh, she's like, I will make all A's in school. Like, nigga, you supposed to make all A's. Like, nigga, I
Yeah.
ain't
What
even
you thought? Of course
like
you
you thought
did.
you was supposed to make all A's. Oh, I graduated from college. Nigga, you supposed to graduate from college. Like it ain't no, you know, there is no. Oh, so I always felt like, you know, nothing I could do would get his shock value, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right before I went to LA, you know, we had a conversation. And he was just like, yo, I'm proud of you. I try to joke it. I was like, oh man, but you just said, no, for real. And I heard it in the tongue, like, no, for real. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of you. Like, you exceeded my expectations in ways I never thought of,
Mm.
you know? And so when I look back at those conversations and I say, yo, like, they all knew their time was coming to an end and they
Right.
wanted to make sure that I was going to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's very important. Like, when you're going through something in life, I know you well, I don't know you like personally, but I know you had a fire, I believe, what was it, a
Yes.
year ago or something like
Yeah,
that?
it's about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, I remember reading about that, and for you to bounce back
Mm-hmm.
after something so, tragic, because, you have kids and stuff, like, and stuff like that can just,
Mm-hmm.
mess you up mentally,
Yeah.
and like that was another thing too, just for me to still be in my right mind after that is a
Say
blessing
that
in
again.
itself.
It is a blessing. Some people never come back from tragedies.
Yeah,
They don't mentally come back.
yeah, and so just to be in your right mind and you can look back at all those things and be like, yo, like, I made it through all that and I got here, is just a testament of your strength, your drive, and your will to say, yo, like, I'm gonna make sure my dreams come true. And when that happens, it's like, yo, if I was to die, God forbid, if something was to happen to me tomorrow, I can at least be like, yo, I did everything I said I was gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
Yes.
extremely important.
Die empty. Die
Yeah,
empty.
exactly.
Mm-hmm. Say that again. Now you just came through with all the industry knowledge, and now you got us with the sermon. Like, man, this has been a phenomenal interview. I'm so glad that you took some time to like talk with me and share some knowledge and advice and some insight and personal stories. Like, I know there's so much value for listeners in this episode.
Yeah, I always have life perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
and like, when because I'm only 26, and so I was like, yo, it's like, and that's the thing too, that's why I'm like, I'm only 26, shit, what's
Yeah.
30 and 40 gonna be like? Like,
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
you like, yo, if I went through all this by 26, I just, man, 30 and 40 is gonna be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, always, love having these conversations because, we're able to share perspectives, thoughts, and just, come together as one and just, try to, because it's therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but it's been very therapeutic because it's so much going on right now in
Say
the
that again.
world. And and we all are going through things like mentally, and it's just, honestly, it's just draining. And so just to
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation on something that's empowering and uplifting to our kind is, I think, is very important. So I definitely enjoyed this. Like, I know we were supposed to talk for like 45 minutes and it's like almost like an hour and
No,
something.
you good.
Man, yeah, and that's what happens when it's just a great conversation because
Mm-hmm.
it's all about if life experiences and learning from one another. And I hope everything that I said, we said, is able to give inspiration to those that need it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Where can people find you if they wanted to follow your creative journey or your career in the music industry?
Oh yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, at MikeJack12. That's MICJACK12 on Instagram. It's a play on words, right? Because it's Mike Jack, of course, is short for my name,
Yeah,
but it's also like a microphone
Mike.
jack, right?
Right. Smart.
And yeah, it's just like, yo, it's a microphone jack.
I bet those jokes get old though after a while. So it's like
You
Michael
know,
Jackson's like, you know what? Look.
it was rough as a kid, but now as an adult, it's like, even the day when I got my braces and the dentist, orthodontist kept saying that, I was like, yo, that's I'm tired of you saying it.
All my
And you
life.
and this is the thing. I'm gonna say it like this: just hurry up and put these braces on so I can leave.
Yes, and y'all in the same industry now, so that's even funnier.
Yeah, and what makes this look funny too is like I still I get it's kind of it's really kind of be my icebreaker. Honestly, I kind of use it as an
Smart.
icebreaker. Yeah, it's kind of like a attention getter. Like I've always kind of like, you Michael Jackson. Oh yeah, that's dope, man. You know Michael Jackson, and then we kind of go into a conversation about this. So I actually kind of use that in a networking thing as well. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So that's always kind of been like an icebreaker of like a conversation starter.
Yeah. That's I didn't think about that, but yeah, that's an automatic one that you just were born with.
Yeah, exactly. So like when my name comes like in an email or something like that, even when a resume, like matter of fact, I have a cover letter and I start my cover letter off like Yes, you read that correctly. My name is Michael Jackson. That's how I start my cover letter off, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I learned that from you, being an attention getter. You got to draw the
Yeah.
audience in so it ain't boring.
Yes.
So I definitely use that to my advantage, and and it's also been a thing where people remember me.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna remember the person you met named Michael Jackson.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you will remember that.
So it's kind of it has its pros and its cons. Never made sense to me.
Come on now.
Never made sense at all.
Got to do better. And we might have to bring you back on for a part 2.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime, just let me know. I will definitely, make it a priority.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold you to that now.
Oh yeah, definitely, no problem.
Wow, what a phenomenal conversation that was today with MJ, and we just got so many gems. I hope that y'all were able to take some mental notes. I don't know if you're driving or whatever you're doing right now, but these are some of the key takeaways that I got from the conversation today. 1, hone your interpersonal skills, channel confidence to connect with people, and become a master networker. Time and time again, MJ proved that it was all about who he knew and the connections that he made and the relationships that he established, which takes me into the second point. Build your personal brand by showing your value rather than asking for a favor. So MJ gave us very specific examples of how he showed his value to those whom he wanted to form close relationships with, and it worked out in his favor. 3, keep your personal feelings out of it. Work is work. So you have to be a professional at all times, especially when you're working with high-profile people. 4, there will be challenges on your journey. Keep the course and persevere through hardship. MJ let us know that not only did he go through challenges from everything from homelessness, and not having anywhere to really lay his head, but he lost his parents. That's very intense, a lot to handle, and he still used that as fuel to kind of push through to achieve his goal. So persevering anyway. And then lastly, number 5, your representation of success for those in your community matters more than you think. So he shared a lot about what it meant being a young boy growing up in a small town in Arkansas. I know a little bit of something about growing up in Arkansas. So, his representation in the industry and just being someone who made it out, especially living in California, being a part of the Hollywood culture, meant so much to people back home. And that's very important to know that your representation in your field, no matter what you think about it, it matters to those who are watching you, who aspire to be like you and are encouraged by you. That's all I have for today. Those are my quick 5 takeaways that I hope that you find actionable and inspirational. We will reconvene next episode. Thanks for listening to another episode of Blackxecutive. If you enjoyed listening in on this convo, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you found us. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Blackxecutive. Have something to add to the conversation? Visit blackxecutive.com to leave feedback, and your thoughts could be featured on a later episode. While you're there, pick up your exclusive Blackxecutive gear and rep the culture. And spread the knowledge. If you know a Black creative trying to go pro, a corporate mogul looking to advance, or a cousin that's always hustling but never gets an idea going, drop them a link to the show. Until next time, keep aspiring to inspire.